Welcome to Deck Analysis and Testing. Today we're looking at Evil Eye, because Evil Eye is probably the only good deck in the new deck build box. We've got one single new card, but that one card is a really good one. Evil Eye is a Dark Fiend deck based around the equip spell that gives their monster protection and additional effects with the low cost of a lot of life points, but this is not necessarily a bad thing for the deck in Duel Links, because we not only have skills that increase your life points so you don't die as quickly, we also have skills that activate when your life points gets low enough. We're playing D-Draw in this version to draw Econ, but you can also play other skills such as level tuning to make your monsters the same level to make Xyz monsters, or skills that increase your life points like Duel Feel. Let's have a look at the cards. First is the new card. Soziel is our main Searcher and Disruption. This card, when normal summon, can add any Evil Eye card from your deck to your hand, usually the equip spell. And also, as a quick effect, you can pop one special summon monster your opponent controls if it is equipped with the Evil Eye equip spell. But it has a mandatory drawback of needing to pop one of your own cards during the next standby phase. But that is usually not a problem because of our field spell, which just sits there waiting for us to be popped. Next is one copy of Medusa. This is our main recursion, because when it is normal summon, you add back one Evil Eye card from your graveyard back to your hand. And also, it gets rid of one card in your opponent's graveyard, as long as it is equipped with your Evil Eye equipped card. And that's really good against decks like Shiranui, because you can just banish their Spectral Sword before they can even use it. But as a drawback, it also banishes one of your own cards from your graveyard during your next standby phase, but again, that's not that big of a deal. You can banish anything, including your staples that don't really do anything in your graveyard. And finally, as our final monster, we have one copy of Basilius. This card is at level 3 that bins any Evil Eye spell or trap from our deck to the graveyard. It's also a special summon that you can just summon for free from your hand. It doesn't quite do a lot in this version because we don't really have another level 3 monster, so it's not like we could, use it as a rank 3 material, but it's nice, I guess. We could make it as a material or tribute fodder for our Econ. For the spells, we're playing one copy of Selene. You probably want to play 2 copies. I'm only playing 1 copy because I want more space for back row. And if you don't have enough back row in this deck, you probably won't win against decks like Tachyon. So I'm just playing more back row instead of more Selene. And this card is your the main focus of this deck. This deck is all revolving around this one single card, and this card is quite strong. This card gives your monster destruction protection from battle and card effects, and also target protection. So basically, your monster is basically unkillable if you equip it with this card. So obviously your opponent can get rid of the equip spell, but you can oftentimes prevent them from doing that, from just disrupting their combos with your other staples, or even the quick effects of your own monsters. It also has the mandatory effect of losing 500 life points every time you activate Evil Eye Spell Trap or the effect of the equip monster, but that equip monster also gains 500 attack every time you do that. So the attack value of that monster is going to snowball really quickly, and soon enough you will have a really big monster that you can just beat over everything with. It also has a graveyard effect that pays 1,000 life points to set itself back, but 1,000 life points is quite a lot, and also it needs to banish another Evil Eye Spell Trap, which you might not have. So yeah, this effect is sometimes useful, but usually not used that much. Next is one copy of Econ, because that is our D-Draw target, it's game winning. And we have 3 copies of the field spell. The field spell searches our main searcher, and also it has an on-field effect that doesn't really do a whole lot, so usually we just pop it using the drawback of Soziel, and when it's popped, it also has a graveyard effect of adding back Evil Eye monster from your graveyard back to your hand, which is nice. Next is the other equip spell, which is Gorgonio. This card has a really good graveyard effect, and it is your main target for you to mill using your level 3 Evil Eye. This card can banish itself and discard any Evil Eye card from your hand to add one Evil Eye spell trap from your deck to your hand. So if you add the field spell, you can also add any monster, because the field spell searches any monster. So that basically is search for anything. It also has a pretty good on-field effect, even though it's not as good as Selene. Selene gives your monster protection and this card doesn't, but what this card does is give your monster a lot of attack, especially if your opponent has a skill that increases their life points, like the legendary Legend of the Hero skill that adds 2,000 life points. You will very easily have a really big difference between your life points and your opponent's life points, and that difference will be added to the equipped monster's attack, which is crazy. So yeah, next up is one copy of Awakening. This card can special summon one Evil Eye monster from your hand or graveyard, but usually you will have Selene on your field, which means you can use its other effect to special summon from your deck instead. Next we have the traps. It's mostly staples. We have 3 copies of Horror House and 3 copies of Darklight, because we really easily will have a target for Darklight to tribute, and Darklight is really good against decks like Tachyon, because if they have multiple monsters on the field, you just wipe them all out. And fun fact, if you place a monster down using a skill, for example, a Tachyon skill that summons a monster, or a Duel skill that summons Ultimate Nightmare, that counts as a special summoned monster. So you can pop that with stuff like Darklight. And finally, we have 1 copy of Evil Eye Defeat as a trap of the deck. This card is searchable, so we can only just play a single copy and it will be fine. And it's basically like Duel Wield if you've played against Six Samurais back in the day when they were everywhere. This is kind of like a worse version of Duel Wield because it only bounces monsters, but it is searchable and a lot more accessible than Duel Wield in general. If you control an Evil Eye monster, it's just a compulse, but if you have the equip spell as well, it becomes a double compulse, which is quite nice. For the extra deck, it's just generic links. We have Power Code Talker, Puzzlermino, Code Talker, Draco Masters, Berserker, Agave Dragon, Lampharinkus, and Pentastack. Just the usual stuff that you see in basically every single one of my free-to-play decks, just generic links, because why not? Okay, let's have a look at the expensive version of the deck. It's not that much different from the deck build box version, just the free-to-play version, because the deck build box is just so small, and you will have 3 copies of the Ultra Rare anyway, even in the free-to-play version, because you can very easily get all 3. So the main difference is that we're just playing more expensive staples like Book of Moon and Overroot and IDP. But the second difference is that, as you can see on our extra deck, we're not playing any other monsters other than fusion monsters. That's because all of them are super poly targets. We are playing a lot of super poly targets because we are playing, of course, 1 copy of super polymerization. This card is insane! This one single card can win you games on its own, even more than Econ could, because this card cannot be negated, or your opponent cannot chain anything above it. So not even Transmigration could negate this card. This card could just win you the game, wipe your opponent's board, and then give you a really big monster of your own. And obviously this is your main D-draw target, so you can really easily access this card because the deck pays a bunch of life points. So if you trigger this skill, you can essentially grab Super Poly every single time and have access to a really good form of removal. And let's have a look at the Super Poly targets. We have 1 copy of Twin Burst against Blue Eyes, 1 copy of the Dark Magicians against Dark Magicians. We have a Dragon Necro Nethersoul Dragon against both Shiranuis and also zombie decks using Balodrock. We have 1 copy of Idaten, the Conqueror Star, against any warrior decks like Heroes or Destiny Heroes, just any sort of warrior deck this card will be good at. We have 1 copy of the Dark Omni Hero to counter Yubel, because Ultimate Nightmare is Dark and Kluger is Elemental Hero. We have 1 Mud Dragon of the Swarm to counter everything else, including Tachyon, because if your opponent ends on Felgrand plus Tachyon Dragon, they're both light monsters with different typing, so that meets the criteria of the Mud Dragon. We have 1 copy of Lunalight Cat Dancer to counter Lunalight, especially because Lunalight Leo Dancer is not something that we can very easily get rid of. So having a Lunalight target in our extra deck can deal with those scenarios where we face against Leo Dancer. And finally, we have Duplexer Chimera to face against Cyber's decks. Okay, let's have a look at the replays. This time we're going first, which is really preferable in Evil Eye, especially in this backward heavy version that I'm using. So let's see what we can do. We open with Econ plus Horror House plus combo, so that's 3 disruptions just right out of the gate. Except none, because our opponent has a Veiler, so we don't actually have access to Equip Spell. But at least we're gonna have 2 back row, and that's probably enough if our opponent is not playing Tachyon, which thankfully it is enough because our opponent is just playing Suships, and they don't have any other monsters after we book their level 5 Suship. They're going to crack down our Soziel. I don't know why they did that. We're going to summon our other Soziel and then use the effect of Soziel to grab ourselves the Equip spell, equip it to Soziel, attack with our opponent's monster, pop our opponent's other monster, and then during our opponent's standby phase, we are forced to pop our own field spell. During our own turn, we will summon back the Medusa, grab back the field spell, activate the field spell again, this time grabbing the level 3 that can summon itself from our hand. And then we can bin the other equip just in case. We don't really have a use for it right now, but it's probably the only target we have. Our opponent draws Dark Hole, which doesn't destroy our Soziel because our equip spell protects it. So yeah, our opponent doesn't have an out, and is going to scoop. Okay, in our second game, we're going second, unfortunately. But we still have plays going second. And we draw 3 copies of Soziel. That's pretty funny. Our opponent's playing zombies, and I really wish we were playing the expensive version right now. That would have been really nice to just super poly the board away. But oh well, we still have access to combo, and our opponent doesn't really have disruption right now. So we better combo while we still can. And a quick note, you should actually summon Soziel in one of the 2 zones under the extra monster zone, not in the middle like I did, because if you put it on one of the EMZ zones, you can use the effect of Pentastag to give it piercing, because it points down. And your monster is going to get really big, so having a really big piercing monster is just really good in general. So this is just a tiny misplay, but doesn't really matter in the long run, especially when we already have everything. Our opponent will be activating Samsara, and then yeah, we can just win just like that. We have 2 disruptions, our opponent has none, and yeah, that's gonna be game after we set up everything. Okay, now let's have a look at the expensive version. Our opponent is playing zombies. Oh boy, our super poly is gonna do a lot of work. So our opponent is going first, and we did not open with combo. We did not open with any of the 2 starters, but we did open with our monster and equip plus the trap. So at least we could do something if our opponent didn't have Crackdown and Cosmic. So what we could have done if he didn't have Cosmic is that even though he stole our monster, we could still equip it to our stolen monster, and then because we have Celine on field, we can activate Awakening to summon a guy from our deck. But he Cosmic'd our equip, so we can't do that. But thankfully, we still have IDP, so we can still banish his zombies. And he activates Ancient Warrior Sunmo. What on earth is this deck? He's gonna summon Kong, and then make Avenged Savior, huh? And then attack us for 1600, and that regrettably is not enough for D-Draw. So we've gotta believe in the heart of the cards, and thankfully we have the best top deck ever. We drew the field spell, which means we can get the best starter, grab ourselves the equip, and then use the Awakening from my hand to grab ourselves a second monster. We're going to attack over both of our opponent's monsters, and then during our standby phase, pop our own field spell, and then recycle back the Medusa that we just destroyed. And then our opponent will be having a really hard time, except they activate Switcheroo, draw a card, and then top decks Glow Up Bloom. And we actually have a trap, so we could bounce back the Glow Up Bloom and just win like that. But I thought, why not we wait a turn, activate D-Jaw, and grab Super Poly, because that's a lot more funnier. We're gonna grab Super Poly, let him banish our monster, just let him have a bit of fun, and then we completely destroy his hopes and dreams with a Super Poly, which gets rid of his entire board and makes him scoop. Good game, good game.